some of the most popular films to showcase the prehistoric past. Generations have been inspired by the awe of a long-gone era. However, there is one film glossed over by many beyond the country of its inception. Created by the innovative Czechoslovakian filmmaker Karel Zeman, CESTA do PRAVÉKU, also known as Journey to the Beginning of Time, was made during the era of the 1950s when dinosaurs were used as monster movie gimmicks. However, Zeman's story and direction of his film, seeing dinosaurs and many other prehistoric creatures living in their natural habitats as we simply view their drama play before us. We are largely just along for the ride in what could be considered as one of the greatest prehistoric films. The adventure of the film takes four boys along a river that mysteriously takes them back into time. The further down the river they go, the further back in time they are. The simple premise of the film allows it to become a showcase of environments, creatures, and dilemmas of the past in a way that was incredibly accurate for the time it was made. Zeman used a variety of different special effects and unique combinations, including stop-motion animation, puppets, miniatures, matte paintings, and even superimposed traditional animation. In an era before any computers were used for films, he used all the tricks of the trade to sell the ultimate illusion that we were being transported back to an era long before any of us. Despite the outdated uses of technology and the now inaccurate portrayals of some of its science, the film is still an engaging adventure. Feeling at times like a Jules Verne-inspired fantasy, we follow the boys as they become engrossed in the environments of the past, luring them in around every river bend. There is no worry about getting home, no real tension between the characters. Their only concern is being able to continue down the river to explore as much of the past as possible, take in every detail available to them. This exploratory nature of the film makes it feel like a documentary at times, with the river adventure merely used as a guiding force. CESTA do PRAVÉKU, in its original Czechoslovakian version of the film, became a classic in its native country. While it had success outside of it, the film only became known in the United States during the 1960s, an entire decade later. It was during this time that the film was dubbed in English and re-edited by an American company. Additionally, the film had new footage shot to bookend this version, featuring actors that had similar likenesses to the boys at the Museum of Natural History in New York. Apart from its theatrical run, the film was also cut up into a serialized form on the popular children's program of the time, Garfield Goose and Friends. Known in this edited form as Journey to the Beginning of Time, it is still essentially the same adventure. The English dubbing is much more animate in comparison to the subdued nature of the original voices.
Fellas, I know it sounds crazy, but the last mammoth died 10,000 years ago.
This one must have been preserved in ice. He escaped when it thawed.
Mm-hmm, and where did all that ice come from?
What do you mean?
Ben, the mammoth lived just before the Ice Age.
You mean we're going back in time? That's impossible.
Tell that to the mammoth.
Když jsme se utábořili, mluvilo se jen o mamutovi. Hlavně Jirka. To bylo něco jiného, než kostra v muzeu. To bylo živé, skutečné zvíře. První, které jsme v pravěku uviděli.
The beginning is completely different as well as the ending. The latter contrives a reason for the adventure taking place that didn't need to be there, as well as a sudden religious commentary that was not present earlier, making it at odds with everything before it. Despite this, most of this film's edit largely respects the original cut, apart from some omissions of the Czech language inserts of a diary, and a few minor moments and shots here and there. However, there are some interesting other details noticed that make this version of the film unique, including a brief moment of additional music that was originally meant to be in the film. The original cut of the film, with its original voices, is definitely the superior version of the film, and should be the first watched. However, there was still an audience that grew up with the English dubbed version, including a brief run it had on VHS in the 1990s. It is also still an important version that helped to get it more well known to Western audiences that otherwise would have never heard of it. Despite the film's classic nature and high praise among circles of filmmakers and critics, it is still a film that appears largely missed by most people when they discuss dinosaur films or others of its type. You hardly see it on best of lists, even for those of its catered audience. That's why the release of the film is so monumental. It is finally available to a wider audience and looks much better than it ever has in a 4K restoration. It features the original cut of the film and reconstruction of the English dubbed version that I personally worked on. With additional features also included, this is the best way to experience one of the greatest prehistoric films